Ma'am, try again. Your presentation is stopped again. Try again, please.
Okay, sir. I don't know what's happening here. So sorry about this. I hope you're listening to me. If you're not, then just message me so I know.
You're
Okay,
audible,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
ma'am, we
just.
are listening you. So learners, since there is
So
problem at
today's
the end of
presentation,
segment.
management, school development and plans. The so okay. Sorry about the hit. It's just, I think, some technical issues. Okay, so the objective of this presentation is to initiate school development plans, to ensure that analysis of the school is conducted, to ensure what the strength of the school are, what are the weaknesses, and how it will affect the teaching and learning. Then we have to ensure that we prioritize the needs of our students and we identify them. We draw up a detailed plan, and then we present these plans to our stakeholders for their endorsement, because they are the ones who are going to then ensure that the implementation is happening in the right way with all the resources possible. And then we ensure that the the progress report is shared properly and the achievements are also declared in a good detailed report. Okay. So, what is a school, successful school developed, or a development plan for a good, successful running of the school? So, one we need to ensure is that it is coordinates and supports the school development activities very well. It ensures that school development is placed within the organizational structure. It has to be flexible and creative. As for school development, would be best if the organization takes steps to build it and then keep the momentum going, integrating organizational development into employee communication, then staff development and team work, as well as the building of the team together with high performance of the workplace. Okay, school development plan. What is the nature? So the nature of the school development plan is that it should bring together all the aspects of the school, running of the school, and it is clear and simple in a way that it prioritizes and it measures the to raise standards and to ensure that there are resources that are dedicated specially for a good outcome and the targets that the school has set. So what we would say, what is a school plan? So the school plan is basically, which is the foundation of the school, which will involve what curricular decisions we're going to take, what teachers, how they should be involved, what experiences we need, and what are the learning activities which the students should be taking on so that it is well integrated in the curricula. So for that, we should ensure that retention rates are right. Standard of literacy and numeracy at all levels is looked at. And then we ensure that the achievement level of all pupils by providing alternate boards. For example, your school is giving IB board, which is a difficult board, but you can do GCSEs or the normal BECs, accredited board, so that it is simple for some students who cannot adapt to it. So that also has to be seen which area your school is. So accordingly, the board should be there. And then the performance of the school should be nicely and in a good way. The certificates or the state examination school leaving certificates should have a proper performance criteria in that. Okay. So what is an actual framework of the school development planning process? So it is, as we can say, the planning cycle has four key operations that we review what's happening, we design it as per the review that or the outcome, and then we implement it and the evaluation happen. It's a vicious circle that we have to keep going. So once we've attained what we thought, or we haven't attained what we think is important, then we evaluate it. So that's how the cycle will work. So what steps we need to take is we getting started. When we say getting started, that means we have to ensure we kind of look at the implementation of the plan if we are planning, and how our school can cater to it, what all resources we have as per the uh, infrastructure or the people in the school, or the resources as per the financial resources. Then we analyze the school, how the school, the working of the school already, and what the building is all about. We prioritize the needs and we set objectives. So what are the needs of the students or the building that really needs to be accounted for at this time? Then we plan an action plan, and then obviously it needs approval. And once the approval is there, we can implement and monitor that plan very closely, and ensuring evidence-based, all the evidence-based implementation is there, and we are recording everything. So when we plan further, we are able to go and look back at that. And then again, we report back progress to all the stakeholders. And then if we are doing things as we are planned, we can then celebrate our success. Okay, so stages. What is our mission of the school? So first stage, when we get started to do something or plan our school, so what we need to do is we see that what is the vision of the school. We outline the school ethos. So as per the school ethos, we will have the vision and values that we need to do, appropriate context of the school, pupil, parent, and staff. All of them, what is the vision that they're looking for? What are the parents, why the parents have given admission to their their children, and what are they expecting from the school? What is the staff doing right now? And what, as per the mission of the school, is the staff catering to it properly or not? So all these things have to be taken into account. Then how well we are doing is the question that we ask when we are planning out. Is the indicators will be whether there is a child-centered provision in the school, effective leadership is there, high quality of teaching and learning is happening, and the school is connected to its community. So that means as per the community that the school is connected to, is the teaching and learning happening in that way, then it will be catering as high quality. The effective leadership is the intervention of the leaders in the school happening as and when required? And is child the prime? And whenever something is being planned or it is implemented or some curricula is looked at, is the child becoming the prime of everything that is being done or not? Okay, what more can we achieve? So we have now seen that what we are doing, we have set up a plan, we have prioritized what things are working well, what are not, and then now we will do is what we need to see. We need to now set objectives to ensure what is the urgent need for the school right now, why we need that, and why we are saying that this is the key objective to attain. What is the firm foundation? If there isn't a firm foundation for that already, how do we create it? Then we are going to say that we are going to specify certain objectives. So we are going to set them. So these objectives should be clear. We, or as we say, smart target taken into account. So we should be specific and clear, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So next stage is that what must we do to make it happen? So prepare an action plan. So now the action plan has to be seen ensuring that we have high quality teaching learning, all standards are attained by the pupil, smart targets that we are looking for raising the standards are implemented. So for example, we are using maths and ICT along with the other curricular aspects or subjects that we are doing. Do we have the improving outcomes in literacy and numeracy? If not, then where are we lacking? Then we should take an action on improvement along with time skills. For example, if a student is given a LO to follow, a learning objective to follow, for example, numeracy, are they able to finish it in the time span required? Then what members of staff are assigned for that action that we are going to take, and who's going to lead? So the lead responsibility is important, that everybody is given the lead responsibility as per their expertise. Then who are our financial and other resources that need to be supported on, we need to support us on. Then resources could be financial, that could be human, and linked with other organizations. So as the lead of the organization, you need to ensure from where am I going to bring the financial resources, what are the other organizations, how can they help to cater. For example, I have a bigger school in the area that is already well established, there could be certain things there which may be access and they can offer, or they can uh, voluntarily give them, donate to your school. You can have links, a good relationship with other schools, and ask for those. You could have what human resources that you have. So for example, what staff you have and how they can help to build certain resources, what are their expertise, how can they contribute to develop the plan that you are set. Then other equipments, accommodations, whether you have proper accommodations for certain facilities or not. What is your, as per your internal school running, whether those accommodations that you're making are catering to your present action plan. If it is not catering to your present action plan, how are you going to bring about that changes in the environment? Then the fifth is approval of the stakeholder. Once you have a good evidence-based plan, action plan, and the consequences, everything set in place, then you need the approval. Why would you need the approval? Because they have to ensure that whatever action plan that you have made, it is feasible and it can be implemented. So this will inform, one, this will, you will be able to inform all the people in the area or the community that you are having your school in. Then that's also reinforces that once stakeholders have committed to the plan, they are committed to ensure the plan carries out. And then there's an agreement, and which has to be done. So obviously once the stakeholders have approved it, they follow and they are open to suggestions. So they agree that they are part of your planning, or and they are happy with what you're doing. So you can now get back to them, or you can ask for help as and when you feel it is required. Then implement and monitor the plan. Now it's the action time because all the paperwork is done, everything is in place. Now what you need to do is you have to ensure that the quality of what we are doing is as per what we have put in paper. So first is observation. We will observe how we can plan. So we look around, see our surroundings. We have informal talks. We have discussion with all the staff members in the school. We have meetings as per the expertise criteria. So we group them. And then we have self-reflection. That is, we reflect and we have a criteria where we reflect upon what we are doing, and then we document everything. It's very important that we have all we are doing is documented properly, so that when we have to go back and look at things, if they're not working properly, so we can see where the gaps were. Then we have the strategic way of keeping tabs and take correct action. So, for example, providing extra support. So, when it is all documented, we are reassessing the roles and responsibilities. If certain area there things are not progressing the way they should be progressing, so where are the gaps? Why this person is not able to do the duty that is assigned? So we can reassign responsibilities. We can see that okay, this particular person is not doing well where curriculum is concerned or the implementation of curriculum, so we can shift this person to the examination aspects or some recreational activities. Then seeking additional outside help. So in case the manpower isn't enough, do we need some more resources? Do we need volunteers? Do we need parents to ask for help? Then if one plan we are taking too much time on certain aspects of the plan and it is really not working out, do we really need to freeze it because it's taking too much of our resources and manpower? So we freeze it for the moment and we get on to the plan that is actually working very well, and then we can come back and modify and do some other activities instead to ensure that plan works well. And then reducing the action plan to make it more realistic. So maybe we have set goals that were very, very, I would say, as per the resources we have. So the plan that we made was probably very unrealistic, or maybe more than what we expected it to be, or it is more time consuming, whatever the reason it is not realistic for the time being. So we can ensure that we kind of reduce our time given on that, or we can reduce the amount of how, say for example, if I feel that my building needs to change now, so I need to build up extra classes, and I have started off another portion in the building, and I'm making 7 classes because I think the progression is happening very fast and I am getting more students in. So I have started with the infrastructure and I am building new classes, but I realize that this is taking too much money, and the money that I was spending on the resources for teaching and learning aspect, they are being reduced because the building is being mailed. So I can do is I will ensure that half of it is stopped and I just make 2 classes for now on, ensure they're up and running for the time being, so that I can use that money on the teaching learning aspect, and then I can get on with the other part of the building later as and when required. Then conduct annual evaluation. That is important. Again, the review how the progress is going. So what we have, the action plan that we have on, are we doing it as we should be doing it, or is there something that we really need to do which will affect the aspect of learning? Then we will see to what extent plans and objectives have been achieved. Are we achieving the objectives as we want them to be achieved? What needs to be reported to the stakeholders, and if there are any problems that hinder the smooth running of the plan. So in that, when you are doing any plan you're implementing, there could be certain aspects of it which need not be reported to stakeholders on a regular basis because it is running smoothly, but there would be some problems somewhere which could hinder a smooth running. So at that time it is very important that the stakeholders are brought into the loop and they are told where the problem is so that they can cater to it immediately. Because sometimes we think that, okay, we have got the permission, now it is our duty to ensure that the implementation is happening. But sometimes on evaluation, we realize that this is not something that we can take a decision on. Then we do need to, it could be, it's not necessary you need to go running, you can just email and wait for their reply. Then we plan on further development, that is, by end of year 3, whatever plan we have done, we revise it, we identify how things have worked well for us, what were the strengths of this plan, and how they have worked very well, so we build upon them. So any weaknesses, we can correct them. And again, setting priorities of the agenda for the coming aspects would be important. Then report back on progress and celebrate success. Very important that whatever you're doing, you're evidencing it, and you're ensuring how whatever you've done, how that has benefited. And if there were any say weaknesses for the plan, how and what actions you think are proper to be taken, and then you share it with the governors and or the stakeholders, and so that each and every member, even as a head, say the lead in this for the project, or you could be the teacher of the school, so you do share it with the principal, you share it with the teaching staff, you share it with the non-teaching staff, and a copy of your current success of your a plan can also go to other school members or the council. And if in case your school is of some religious aspect, so the council of that should also be given a copy. Parents can also have that. So something, there should be a built copy for parents to review what's happening as a school, what are you doing to develop. So you can email the parents or have a notice on the notice board saying that if they would require, you can give them on request. So that you have a proper input from various aspects. And sometimes when somebody reads a report, they can give you an input that, okay, this could be done better, and which would obviously have impact on what you're going to do when end of 3 years you look at it again. So anything you would like to ask me, you have to message me. I think I cannot hear you. I have also connected via phone, so if in case you wish to ask me, you can ask me.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's
So
get
let's
on
get
to
on
the
to the
next
next
aspect
aspect
then.
then.
हेलो मैम
Yes.
Yes.
हाँ जी
हाँ जी
सर,
सर,
सर
सर
यूनिट
यूनिट
4
4
स्टार्ट
स्टार्ट
करने
करने
लगे हो।
लगे हो,
मैंने
मैंने
फोन
फोन
पे
पे
ऑन
ऑन
कर
कर
दिया,
दिया,
फोन
फोन
पे
पे
आवाज आ
आवाज
रही
आ
है
रही है
आपकी।
आपकी।
अब
अब
मैं
मैं
शेयर
शेयर
कर
कर
रही
रही
सर।
हूँ।
जी कंटिन्यू
जो
जो
स्क्रीन
स्क्रीन
दिख
दिख
रही
रही
है?
है?
No,
हाँ
हाँ
जी
जी
सर,
सर,
स्क्रीन
स्क्रीन
दिख
दिख
रही
रही
है?
है?
नो
no.
Okay, I'll just share it again. Okay. Sorry about all these technical issues that are happening. Okay, in this unit 4, enhancing pupil learning and achievement. How do we go about this? So as teachers, we need to know whether we are on in lead or we're normal classroom teachers. We need to know that learning intention and the success criteria in the lessons is very, very important. And that's why we need to understand if there are gaps of the current students and where the gaps are and how we need to fill those in. So the objectives of this unit is to identify the reasons for the gap in a potential pupil and their achievement, plan out and execute certain things wherever you think needs to be done for overall structure. Then create or creating an effective inclusive learning environment. Reflect upon different strategies where you feel the individual needs or where you can see that there is some learning achievement in lacking of the learning achievement and you can better that in the pupil. And then the collaborate with the parents, how the parents can be part of it so that you can have better learning and teaching environment. Okay. Improving students' achievements. So there are 3 effective strategies that we say that are important to ensure that the students have greater success, and that is sharing learning intentions with the students. So what do you think the students should be learning on? So what are the intentions of that? You should, what your intentions as a teacher is, that should be clearly conveyed. Then you sharing the success criteria with the students, ensuring that when you are ensuring the student has given you as per required learning aspects that you expect from the student, the success criteria to what level the student has succeeded in it should be shared with proper feedback. And a teacher should give a proper and effective feedback. That means rubrics is part of it. So whatever criteria you're assessing the student on, that should become a part of your feedback, and accordingly you must be giving that to the student. Okay, so starting point for assessment, that is basically looking at the curriculum. So there are different types of curriculums that are catered to. Some of the private schools are catering to British curriculum, but the basic education curriculum is what most of the schools should be running on. So the basic education system is targeting on the critical elements of the needs. So the basic education needs of the journey of a student that will have basic education for the 9 years. So they want to ensure that basic numeracy, literacy, that they learn are lifelong skills. So they ensure that that is implemented in a way that they are able to implement in their daily life. So what moral values or ethical values the students will see in the or learn in the school, and whether all the learning is going to encourage them to become good or successful citizens later. So for example, creating standards for rubric. For example, you have a curriculum. So as per your curriculum, you are saying that at a certain age, the student should be fulfilling a certain criteria. I have taken the example of year 5 and year 6 of maths, same aspects of addition and subtraction. So when somebody is in year 5, so there should be certain criteria that they should follow. So they should be at this level. So the rubric is saying that the student should be at, say, for example, they should understand, they should be able to add, subtract 4-digit numbers when they are in year 5. So they should be able to work around 4-digit numbers. They should be dividing 4-digit numbers maybe by 2-digit numbers, and so they can do mental calculations with 4-digit numbers. So these are year 5 criteria or rubric that you look at. So this should be basically the basis of the whole curriculum that is set in the school. The year 6 teacher and year 4 teacher both should know what year 5 is expected to do, for example. So when they go on to year 6, so the rubric says that they should now be able to add, subtract more than 4 digits. So they've already done the practice of 4 digits. So the teacher, as the previous knowledge of the students, they should come to the class is with the addition knowledge of 4 digits, and therefore they should have the understand the formal methods now of 4-digit learning, addition, subtraction, or multiplication. And now they should be able to mentally subtract and add with more increasing numbers. You could have 5, 6, 7. So ensuring that they are able to do that. Then you also ensure that their multiplication, division levels have really increased and they are on a higher level. So this is how the progression or the rubrics, and these are the objectives from the rubrics. You can share it with the children as well. So for example, like when I was teaching in primary, all these the objectives that I had with, say, for example, in English, there were certain adjectives, certain nouns the student should know at that level. I would make small cards and keep it for each student in the class. So once the objectives were attained, the students would highlight it themselves. So when the students highlight it themselves, they understand that, okay, so the teacher is sharing that, yes, you have attained it, and the student also is responsible for their own learning, and they also enjoy that. So individual differences. So even in that learning criteria, learning objective, I've taken the example of history. So in that one learning objective, that there would be, each student would be at a different level at different time. For example, understanding of some historic, say, for example, you have a topic on history. So you have a student will have different understanding. So for example, reasoning and interpretation. So if a student is below the level, they may not be able to develop or research questions or interpret them in a way that it should be required. But a person who is at the standard of the the level of the class, they will develop research questions in a way that they're able to ensure that they have all the resources required. And if somebody is working above the level, they will be having different resources, and the interpretation would be much more evaluative and more introspective. So as a teacher, you know that there are individual differences in the class. So thus this criteria is, or the student is below average, above average, or is just at the right age group as they should be. So the diversity in the classroom, as teachers, we should know that what are the aspects, why we have that individual differences in the class, and how we should cater to it. But to do that, we have to ensure and understand why the diversity is there in the classroom. So we could say categorize them by age, disability, gender reasons, race, religion, so that means if they're in a certain religion background, they're coming to the class with a certain schema that needs to be addressed. What sexual orientation that they think, now the teachers should be aware that there are certain aspects that we need to know. So if they are not identifying as the same sex they are born in, so what we need to understand that, okay, there would be certain other aspects they are struggling with. And what is their social and economic background? Are they in a good socially good aspect and economically well settled background, or they have economically weaker background? So why does this happen? So there could be many reasons. In the school, it could be the curriculum, how well it is being taught. The teacher that is teaching that curriculum, is how her experience is the attendance of the student well at the point, or as per the criteria set by the school. So some schools have 90%, some are okay with 80%, some want it to be 96% for the students. So attendance, is it being followed, and what the criteria is fulfilled by the student. The teacher's preparation, is teacher well prepared for the class, or is she wasting the time, or the teacher is well experienced for the age group she's teaching, so is she able to pick on the criteria required for that class to be catered to? So is the class size good, or it is too big? how technology is being assisted when the instructions are, how well the technology is interrelated to it, and how safe the school is as a place to be. And in outside of the school, there could be other aspects like whether the student does not get proper nutrition, lead poisoning, because it is known that certain aspects, are they having things or are they around the place where lead poisoning could be an issue. So obviously it will have problems with their learning issues, mental growth, and how they perceive things, because it affects your learning ability and memory ability. Then reading to young children, are their parents or some other aspect where they are. So if in case parents are not looking after whosoever is their caregiver, are they reading to them? The students had early exposure to reading or not, or they have, the school was the first time they've ever read. So these aspects will also play. It's not that they are not intelligent, it's just because they haven't been exposed to it. So they're going to take time to get onto or in sync with others at that time. Then television watching, how much do they watch television, what they watch on the television, how is it impacting their brain? Then are parents available for them? If not, what's the aspect? Is it because they have to go for work? And if they do participate, then what is the participation level if with them, and in what criteria they do, and what is the student mobility? So how mobile is the student outside? So is he able to have different experiences or not, or they're just confined to the home? Okay, so the next aspect is, once we understand all those aspects, we have to understand how we are going to help the underachievers. So for that, say, for as a teacher, if I'm writing this, that you can do better, so that means as a teacher I'm feeling that you are not reaching your full potential. So if I feel that there's that student in my class who are not reaching the full potential, so how do I go about it? So certain identifying aspects of underachievers are that they are inconsistent. The inconsistent pattern could be in subject area or in all the aspects of the subject or the school subjects. So if it is in a particular subject area, what I need to do, if there's a discrepancy between the ability and achievement. So for example, you feel the ability is, the student is high level ability or a good gifted student, but the achievements are not there, where is the lag? And is this because the student is having gaps of listening? Sometimes listens carefully, sometimes does not. Is the student avoiding assignments? They're not doing their work. Is there anything issue with the refusal of writing things down? Is there an issue with specific way of doing things or taking orders? Or is it that they are restless, they have overactivity of things and they're not able to sit and concentrate? Is there literacy levels or literacy skills that is the reason they're not able to listen to instructions well? Is that a gap? So do they need to really work on literacy levels? And where is the real gap? So are they in the way a student's attitude is like a blaming person who's blaming others and not taking responsibility, owners of their own learning? So, as per Dial's worker, he said that there are certain ways we can ensure good help is given to the learners. So first is supportive strategies. So that is that in the classroom, we use certain techniques, we design the classroom aspects in a way that we have strategies. So this could be by ensuring that we discuss it with our senior members, we discuss it with other faculty members or the same subject area members. It could be taking into account the family aspects as well. Then it is the intrinsic strategies. So that is how the student understands themselves. What is the self-concept the student has for themselves? Do they feel like achieving academically or not? Do they have the desire? Are they internally, intrinsic motivation is there or not? Are they happy to do that? Then what are the remedial strategies that we are catering to? Are we going to ensure that we are ensuring the behavior is first catered to. Then we look at the academic aspect, because behavior is the biggest issue. Or is it that there are certain strengths in the child that we should ensure that we build upon, and then slowly and steadily the weaknesses can be looked at. So weaknesses could be that they are emotionally very down, but they are, when they study well, but the gaps are because of the mood swings that they have. So that could be another issue. So when the researches were done, there were certain aspects that they said that you really, really need to focus on to ensure that we help the underachievers well. So that is focus on the academic achievement. So we ensure that how they are academically performing. Then we have curriculum choices made for them, or they made for themselves. We assess them. Then we check on those that maybe the choices they have made are not appropriate as per their abilities. So we can assess them. We can have a continuous uh, progress report. We ensure that we check the progress report of that particular student, and we give them multiple opportunities for improvement. So that could be in different scenarios we can set up, so how they are going to improve. So for example, if there's a issue with their discipline, how do we ensure that discipline is happening? What interventions we are having to ensure those things are catered to? Then we ensure, if in case we suppose there is a problem with their expression, are we going to cater to some more writing? So writing could be that they are able to express themselves better, and then we ensure that we have a collaborative scoring of a student work. So we ensure that we check all the aspects of the curriculum and see where they are lacking and what is the best. And then we see overall achievement, whether it is below average or above. So we can, so that way, ensure that we can help the underachievers. Okay, so contribution to bridging the achievement gap. How do we do it? So as teachers, we can effectively bridge the achievement gap, and that is provide more tutoring after the school. Say summer programs could happen. We increase the use of school social workers. We ensure that as teachers we get to know students well. We understand that diversity issues are there. The teachers are given good training of different diverse cultures and where the sensitivity is. We can also do that by reducing class size. So if, say, for example, we have maximum issues of underachievers because the class size is 40 or 50, we can reduce it to 20 or 15 to ensure we are looking at the students, because we have to do that individually. Then we are grouping the student as per ability. So we have recognized that these are certain students who are below average, there are certain students who are above average, and there are certain students who are just good. So as a teacher, I need to group them. I have to ensure the activities are given as per the curriculum, but looking at their abilities so they can build on it easily instead of struggling on something that there is some gap in and we haven't recognized that. So we can change the curriculum. For example, as I've already shown in the curriculum, it says that as in year 5 student, they should know how to add and subtract certain as number digits or 4-digit number. So as a teacher, I realized that they're not able to do it. So do I need to now start them with addition and subtraction of 2-digit numbers and then building it up to 4 so that they come to their class ability? Then I have to now bring in parents too. I have to educate parents as a teacher, as a lead for the school, that they need to understand the gaps in their own child, and so we can help collaborate together to help the child get better. Okay, so there is the theory as well, which it says that is very important. So that is called accelerated factor theory, that identifies the factors that we can use to ensure the achievement gaps, and it has 7 components. So as a educator, I should ensure that all these, and wherever the gap is, I can able to fill those. So first is soil. So it says that the soil is the students' literacy, numeracy, how they have done. So the background experience. So soil is their background experience. So I understand when the student comes in my institution, what kind of report they are coming with. So is it that whosoever their caregiver was, they have underestimated or did not attend them, so they have poor literacy or numeracy levels. They have the environment or the aspects of the school that they were in, there were gaps there. Then I get on to see that is the rigorous curriculum is structured according to the and aligned as per the national curriculum. So I ensure that I have personalized strategies to help that student to achieve mastery on that pedagogy or on that what you call the national standards that they're expected to be on. Then I have the root. Root means what culture competency they have. So what is the way, how they are competent, whether the emotional nurturing or the social competency is good or not, and how do I have to nurture it to ensure they're by say questioning them and nurturing wherever the gaps are. Then the environment, that would be in what context. So for example, I'm changing the organizational culture aspects of the school. I'm creating strategies to ensure that there is a good relationship embedded, so the stakeholders are informed and the system has a good context or a good environment for that particular child to grow in. Then another thing is who will do that. So the teacher plays very important role. So we have to ensure the teachers that we have in the school have a good professional and good personal background, in the sense they know their personal attitudes are very good and the personal attitudes are very progressive, and they are the teachers who like to learn and accelerate wherever they can, so they are able to, in a good conscientious teacher is able to critically analyze and accelerate wherever the gaps are properly. Then what support? The administration of the school is very important to give the right support to the gardener, the teacher of the school. So that is they access, they ensure that the resources the teacher require are fully provided. They ensure that there is all knowledge required for the teacher for that particular student, and instructions are given properly so that the teacher ensures that she follows them to ensure better understanding of that student's aspects. And then what the teacher and administrator are doing to ensure that the student, or if there is a gap where the teacher or administrator is concerned, so there is a professional development and how these 6 above components should be used in their day-to-day working with the children, with the students of the school, is catered to or not. So that's how the school can help build it up. So now collaborating with the school community and family. So how does the collaboration together work? So that would be combining out of school and in school tactics, that is like combining academic summer programs. So basically you have the academic in the school, I am following this. So as a school, I have catered to the curriculum, I have followed the pedagogy very well, but now there are certain gaps. So the summer programs are happening to accelerate it or to fill in the gaps that are required. So the summer programs of the school are designed in a way that it helps that the student fill up the gaps that are required to get on to the next year. Then taking specific context into consideration, that is to develop strategies for reducing achievement gaps. So that could be, for example, they are specific context is say for a student who has come into your school, they have had the gaps in achievement because they had come from some other country and they had not been learning certain aspects of the curriculum that you are teaching. So how would you reduce that? So you will ensure that whatever aspects, because they have to be in the normal stream classroom. So before they get into the normal stream classroom, they have certain extra lessons going on simultaneously in the school so that they can achieve the gaps and get on with the normal working of the classroom. Then you can blend learning that with traditional methods and online activities. So you can have, depending on how your students are, they could be that obviously with that online activities, you will have to have a portal, you'll have to have an nice activities arranged so that they can be accessible for the students. And the traditional would be they also ensure that because certain aspects like exams still happen in a traditional way, so the writing aspects are looked at and the students can do a lot of writing in the class, but at the same time they can do other activities which would enhance their learning on that topic with online activities which you monitor closely. So which could be done if you have, say for example, you have teams, you can put those activities in the team and then they can accordingly manage. Then gamification, so that is ensuring that whatever curriculum there you are feeling there is a gap the student has, you get certain aspects or have somebody trained get into the classrooms to ensure that this is taught in a fun way so that the student learn better. Then designing of the structured courses, so you ensure that there are certain problems, so you analyze the data where the problems are, what cognitive tasks do they need to do to ensure that there are gaps are reduced between the students. So for example, what are you catering in the class for problem solving? So are you doing some activities above your curriculum to ensure the gaps are reduced? Okay, so this is one of the case study I've just hypothetically written because this is a hyperactive student. So how, as a teacher, you're identifying, so what are the characteristics you're seeing? So as a teacher, if you have had the knowledge of or have the training, you will be able to quickly see that. So for example, the student is disorganized and sloppy. These are the main characteristics you can see. Very messy, don't cater to anything nicely. The energy is non-stop high, does not sit in the class properly. Schoolwork is never complete. So if he's so energetic, why schoolwork is not complete? You take the papers out of their bag, they're messy, crumbled. The handwriting is hardly readable for a teacher, and the grades are varying. So they do not sit in the class properly. Listening is inconsistent. So they kind of, sometimes they tune in, sometimes they don't tune in to with the teacher well. So all these aspects that you see as a teacher, you feel that the behavior at school and at home both are chaotic, and they are sometimes when you give them instructions they listen, but sometimes they just tune themselves out. They're in a different zone. You understand that there's some issue there, they're not listening. But when you are giving them information that they feel is positive and they feel good about it, they listen to it and they are very happy. But when it is a negative aspect, they do not listen. So all these things can definitely triggers, as a teacher, triggers you. You want to know how to ensure that the child is more focused. So there are certain strategies that are listed, which is you would match their learning abilities and then you will strategize. So for example, you will see where the strength is, how the student can improve. So that could be, for example, you would show motivation. So you will encourage them, and that would be a good aspect where they will be motivated. Okay, if this is my strength, how do I cater to my weak areas? So the child is motivated. For example, if the student is very good with their verbal communication, and they are able to have good hands-on experience, and when you're giving them activities that they are able to do with hands, say for example counting the blocks but not able to add, on paper. So you can keep the paper and counting of blocks together so that they are able to relate and improve that. So that will motivate to learn better. Then you have the appropriate behavior approaches. So what are you going to do? For example, you get onto the level of the learner. So it could be they have behavior issues because the whatever you're teaching is not they are not at that level, so they're not understanding it. So if they're not understanding it, as a teacher you can't say that okay, they have issues so they need to, or they have emotional issues, they need to go on medication. As a teacher you can nurture that, you can cater to it by talking to them. Then using the school psychologist. So if in case you feel that after all different strategies I'm using in the class, the student is not at all focused. So is there any learning gap because of some issues? So it could be they have aptitude tests, so the low aptitude, they have ADHD, so they could be, so something that can be assessed by the psychologist. So you can refer the student to the psychologist for them to assess. And then again, for students, it is very important that you do not punish them because they don't understand. You would probably make them more aggressive or more because that's what they are doing. So what do? You praise good behavior whenever, ignore their bad behavior. So whenever you see those little episodes of good behavior, praise them. Use signals or say, for example, personal signals. So more of instead of verbally talking to them because they feel insulted in front of the whole class, you can give them non-verbal indications and you can tell them that okay, this is going to happen, or you can have a quiet talk with them in the beginning of the session, or tell them that these are the consequences that the person could face if they don't listen, so making them responsible for their own actions. And then ensuring that you would draw them of certain privileges. For example, if they don't finish the classwork given at the given time, so next is, for example, they have break time or they have a PE lesson which they enjoy a lot. So you can say that okay, so if you do not finish it with the given time, you would have to cut out on your PE lesson and finish the work given. So does that negative reinforcement happens and the child kind of then knows that I have to finish it. So that also helps you to understand that okay, the achievement or they are not performing well is because they are not concentrating, not because they have some learning issues. It's just that they are not concentrating. As a teacher, this is a good success criteria for you to understand the student. Any questions on this? Okay.
No, everything is
So
straight. It's
bear
clear.
with me
Thank you.
for the next topic. Okay, so managing socio-emotional problems. So sometimes we say that the student who has been an underachiever, that could be, and it is one of the major issues in school, is that they have social or emotional problems. So for example, they could have attachment issues in the beginning. So they, as per the attachment theory, they may not feel secure, didn't have a secure base. It could be because they were deprived of love when they were young. It could be they've never ever experienced love, so they have issues in making relationships or being with people. So what are the objectives for this lesson? So to identify social emotional problems in children, to identify causes of such problems, and then to understand as a head teacher what role is there that you're looking for to, and what are the solutions that you should be looking at. So identifying somebody, so these are little characteristics, identifying social emotional problems. So that would be some children are quite conscious, they are overly worried about making mistakes, they get easily frustrated, they give up because they feel they cannot do something to perfection. So that is also an issue. Some students will be quite withdrawn, they may not talk to you properly or may not answer to questions asked, and they could be, if they do talk, they are very rude to their staff members, they are very rude to their peers, they could be very sarcastic in their conversation. Then it could be that they have get angry very quickly, they have snippets of anger. Then there could be that they are restless, they could be speaking apparently out of turn, so they're not thinking when they're speaking. And it could be that just to get attention at times or get conformity from the students or peers that they're working with, they may just do things that are distracting others as well so that they get attention. It could be that they are naive, they could be easily led, they could be vulnerable, and always stay in a low mood. So that are things that you need to see to, if to go deep into things. So these are quite, so if these are points that even if you see 5 to 6, okay, occasional mood swings are fine, but if this is consistent and you feel that the anxiety levels are unexpected at times and the student gets agitated when certain things or new things are given to them, then definitely these are the things that you need to look at. Okay, so what is emotional disturbance? Students having emotional disturbance can be defined by the Disability Education Act as the ability to learn that cannot be explained by intellectual, sensory, or health factors. So something that they are not able to learn certain aspects, so we cannot explain that their intelligence level is fine, so their sensory or everything is working fine, health factors are fine, but there's something that is stopping them or kind of controlling their ability to achieve what they can or what they are capable of. Then an inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers and teachers. So they're not able to have a good relationship and they have this on off of their emotions. Sometimes their behavior is inappropriate and you don't feel that they are normal person would behave in such a manner in circumstances, given circumstances. Then the journal of how the mood is. So pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression is like prevailing all the time and it is there, it is consistent. Then you have the tendency to develop physical symptoms, that is phase associated with personal and social problems. So anything that they do, if they cater to a problem, they automatically start faring that issue. So, okay, for the patterns of distorted or disordered behavior, according to Essenbach, is there are two discrete patterns that is called the externalizer and the internalizer. So the aggressive, disturbed, and acting out. So which is easily assessed by the teacher. We as teachers are able to assess it that, okay, this person has some emotional issues because they are very aggressive, they're not acting normal, and they act out whenever certain things are told to them. But the people who internalizes, who they stay withdrawn, depressed and anxious. So sometimes when this could be easily not catered to, because as a teacher I may ignore the aspects of emotional disturbance by thinking they are an introvert, so they just don't like to talk. So but then as a teacher, if I see that pattern is on a regular amount, I see that the child is not talking to the friends, they are not making new friends, they are not really having a conversation of as the child of that age should do, then I have to also look at aspects of, is the consistency of depression or anxiousness related to their withdrawal aspects or not. The 4 dimensions of the emotional disturbances that the researchers think is seen is conduct disorder. Very importantly, very evidently seen that they are aggressive, they don't obey, and they get irritated very easily when they are confronted. So they have that disorder there. Then the personality disorder, that is withdrawal, anxiety, physical complaints. So personality, they will withdraw from them. They'll show anxiety. Then there would be certain physical aspects that you feel or you are feeling that are not appropriate or as per the normal aspect or the standard aspect of the emotions that a person should display. Then we come to the immaturity, that is poor coping mechanism. Then it could be that they do not play with their own age group. They could be that they like to play with the younger ones because they feel they are the right people they can play with, so they have the immaturity aspect in them. So that's, it could be because of the emotional disturbances, it could be the trauma that they have gone, so they haven't yet come out of it. Then it is the socialized delinquency, again the involvement with the gang subculture, so where they love to, they idolize and conform, or they identify themselves with the gangsters around, people who create ruckus, so they obviously become more attracted to them. So there are definitely something not right which needs to be catered to. Okay, so causes of social emotional behavior, there could be many. So it's just that as a teacher, you need to understand that if there are these aspects that are showing the aspects of the behavior is being seen, then as a teacher, you have to ensure that you understand why this is. So it could be biological causes, so it could be brain injury, it could be slow brain development, or it could be the PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So if there are biological issues, so whatever you do in the class will not help. You will have to have help from the outside resources. You'll have to involve doctors, you will have to involve psychologists, psychiatrists to ensure that right medication is done, or right cognitive behavior therapy is done in a way that they are going to them regularly, because as a teacher you are not experienced enough to do that with them. So if there are developmental causes, so developmental causes could be attachment issues, so deprivation, privation. So the attachment, as the attachment theory says, that if this student has not had a secure base, so they are deprived, so they have always so they are, the defense mechanism has become like that, is because they haven't had the secure base. So as a teacher, you do not know how, from where to pick the student up, so they would be, or maybe, so privation is that they've never ever had the aspect. It could be because they've come from an orphanage, or it could be that because of the distorted family issues, or many other things that could create issues. Then they do not, so because of all this, they're not able to develop trust, and so and they feel ashamed of whatever they're doing, so internally they are not feeling good about themselves, so they are all the time defensive in their aspects. Then learned behavior, how what they have learned from the environment. So say for example, what are they role models, whom do they identify with? So, or it could be that they are just behaving because they've seen somebody at home who act out and they get attention, so they want that attention, right? So if you are punishing them, so they feel that, okay, if we are getting punished, the teacher is spending time on us, she's giving us that time. So if that has become their way of getting attention, so that, why? Because they've learned it from the environment, which we call vicarious learning. So vicarious learning has happened, and they are now catering to that aspect or that schema of their mind, and therefore they are behaving like that. And then again, home life also plays a very, very important role, because that's their building block of their life. So if at home they have chronic stress, there is no structure to what they're doing, the abuse is happening at home, it could be they're not inconsistency in their expectations. Sometimes the parent is happy with what they've done, sometimes the same thing is being scolded for. There is no discipline. There could be domestic violence, they could be victims of domestic violence, or they are seeing domestic violence happening at home. It could be that the mother is not being treated well by the father, or there's something else, or there's multiple partner issues or whatever. So, and there is no expectation, so they do not know what is the difference of acceptable behavior and this is not acceptable, because there are no expectations. They do whatever they want to do, nobody really cares. So what the home life is, so as a teacher you have to ensure that you have that basis to ensure that how the cognitive learning has affected them. So we need to ensure that communication is well established. Okay, teacher's role in social emotional learning. So as we've already discussed, that as a whole school unit, teachers play a very good role. They play a very important role of a gardener, as we've already learned. So it is very important what the student teacher relationship is. So whether so as already you must have read in educational psychology, so three aspects is the attachment theory, the social cognitive theory, and self-esteem theory. So these theories are very important for the teacher to understand. For example, attachment theory. So if the student does not have a good base, right? So they feel very insecure. So they need to ask questions. They need to nurture it. They need to fill in the gaps. As a nurturer, they have to be compassionate, right? So they have to compensate on that. Then the social cognitive theory says that as a teacher, you have to ensure that you model the right behavior. You do positive communication more. You try to understand and give a feedback and encourage the students to do things. And then the self-esteem theory that says the students three main needs need to be filled. So that is the competency, autonomy, and the relatedness. So that is whether they feel competent enough. So as a teacher, you have to understand, are they able to do things? Is the environment motivated enough so that the self-esteem is given high or not? So for all these things, we have to ensure the teacher understands or gets to know the students well. She gives them the meaningful feedback. That means the feedback is not, okay, good, well done. But yes, well done. This is, I'm very happy. So for example, you could say to the student that I'm very happy that you have managed this very well. This could have been done better if you would have added this aspect, but although I really like this, so the positive feedback will boost them, so they will understand that, okay, the teacher has really liked what we have done, but she was telling us or giving us instructions how to improve. So how you word that is very important. Then positive interactions with the child all the time. So, and ensuring that the consistency is there. So when you give feedback, you follow up, you ensure there is an effective communication and a positive classroom environment, so that the student is able to feel comfortable and feel he belongs or she belongs to that classroom. So how important is the positive classroom environment, and how as a teacher you would play an important role? So first is modeling appropriate behavior. So as a teacher, you should ensure that you are more professional. If you say, I don't like you shouting, so in the class, so you shouldn't be shouting to your students and talking, even if you feel like, because they have really crossed the line. But you should know that, okay, this is the behavior I expect and I would like to give you. So model that behavior. So if you want your students to be consistent, so if you've given them instructions them to follow, then you as a teacher should ensure that whatever instructions you are giving them, you are following up as well. So this will when you are having a positive classroom environment, you are reducing anxiety of the student. They will pay more attention to you because now they have understood that it's not personal. They understand because you have that communication, you have that comfort level. They understand that it's not them that you are worried about or you have issues with. It is certain aspects that you feel they need to develop on. So that's why they are being monitored for, or they are at times being questioned. Then once a child understands and they are able to reduce the anxiety and improve attention, they automatically their motivation is improved because they feel positive. The environment seems to be positive where they grow. So obviously if the learning is happening because of good attention, the academic success will be there, and this will also help them be more resilient, and they feel of self-worth. And when anybody, any human, not only the students, any human who has this feeling of self-worth and they feel they're worthy of something and they feel good about themselves, their behavior will automatically improve and be good. Then implementation of the social emotional learning. So how do we do that? So how does we ensure that the social and emotional learning happens properly? How do we do that? What programs we should do? So we should start each day with the emotion to check in. So what is that? So what is the emotion? What is the mood of today? So are we feeling good about ourselves? What are we doing? So what is the mood for you? What does it look like to you? Your story time could be there. So the teachers have a good, to begin with, they can have a story time. They can relate, say, for example, they can pick up one emotional issue or one emotional aspect and build a story time around that so that students also talk about it. You can, all the activities that you have, you do it as partners. They do team up. You change the partners so that they are able to ensure that good relationships are there in the class. Then there is a natural kindness aspect in the class where you tell them the difference between, or what are the aspects of what you should, and you should yourself as a teacher be practicing it. So for example, you would expect your students to say thank you, please. So whenever you're talking to them, it should automatically come in your conversation that you, whenever you're asking them to do something, so you say, please, can you do that for me? Or you say, oh, I'm really grateful, thank you so much, so that the student learn that from you. And you build up on the social and emotional vocabulary. So you, wherever, so that they are able to discuss their issues more bluntly. So you're talking to them whether they're feeling cheerful, who was kind today, for example. Okay, we are going to identify all the kindness deeds that you do. We have a kindness box. So somebody did good deeds, so the box, you keep a box in the class, for example, and you write that deed, good deed done by that student, and the name, and you put it in the box. So end of the week, so for example, on Friday, you so you have one lesson like circle time or teacher discussion time. So you pick that box up. The child who has had maximum slips of kindness in that box named on there, you can give them a little gift, or they can be applauded in the class, and then you can give them a responsibility for the next class. Say, for example, they will monitor the class next day because they've been very kind and everybody has been very happy. Teach them ways to have reflective writing. So for example, they've had a good, whenever you're writing, teaching them writing skills, teach them how to reflect upon certain aspects of their life. So pick up episodes of that could happen in your students' life. So you can discuss them with the students and tell them to write a little note on reflective aspects where to reflect on that episode. For example, they're playing in the playground, so have a reflective writing on the playground, why they liked being in the playground, how did they feel, how did they what was the environment like, what was making them very happy, was there any aspect that made them sad. So decision-making skills. So if there was something that made them sad, what can they do to make it back to be happy? So they learn how to make decisions for themselves. And then the talk time is very important, to have little talk times in the class of just general, not academic, just general well-being, so the students are able to talk more on that aspect. So the implications for the head teacher. So as a head teacher, being the lead of the institution, you play a very, very important role. So you have to ensure that you are catering and everything, or your infrastructure, everything is set in a way, all the resources are set in the way that the to master the academic skills, the students are developing their social and emotional skills. So key is setting directions. The teacher induction initiative should be taken by the head teacher to ensure that the teachers are properly given all the induction aspects, so that it gives a good message to the teacher itself. It's a pathway of a teacher, how the environment of the school is and what is expected of them. If they feel that there is any issues, so regular development of the people in the school happens, not only these teachers but other staff members as well. So for example, the admin staff should also go through certain mindfulness or well-being sessions, so that they also understand different aspects and they improve their skills. Then if required, you can redesign the organization aspects. There should be clear communication. As a head teacher, you should have set rules clearly intimated to the teachers and the other staff members, and ensuring the implementations of those. But when implementing, ensuring that you have that aspect of flexibility, in the sense that as a teacher, I have the liberty to be a little flexible, to follow those rules as per the individual differences that I have seen. Then regular monitoring is happening. There are play therapies done in the school that very important for emotional and social well-being. Then you can also have policies to channelize aggression. So when we say channelizing aggression, so what aspects have we set as a school to ensure the aggressive children are catered to, so that there is a positive channelizing? For example, people who are very aggressive, you could have them in some sports team. So ensuring, even if they're not doing that well as per the PE teacher, but still they will be part of the team, because you want that aggression to be vented out in the playground. Then there are positive reinforcements regularly done. And the aspect of teaching a mindfulness should be part of the curriculum in whichever way, so that the students are all the time more conscious about their feelings and talking about them. So one is collaboration as a solution. As a teacher, as a head teacher, what do? You collaborate with other entities to ensure good functioning is happening. So for example, reaching out to parents. You reach out to parents, focus on the parents of young children. So why? Because they are they are new parents. So the young children are still developing. So you need to catch them at early stage, so that later on issues don't happen. You take parents' feedback, what they feel should be, what they think as a school entity, what you should be doing to ensuring better. So taking the feedback regularly and involving other healthcare professionals like the psychiatrists, the psychologists, and there are certain mindfulness coaches nowadays that can be have talk, or they could be involved. Then educational flexibility, very important, that whatever educational aspect you're looking at, there is flexibility to it. You're holding high expectations for student success, so which is clearly intimated that this you have high expectations. So if you will have high expectations, the progress would automatically be better. So effective behavior is also a key, where you are ensuring the maintenance is happening. So whatever is socially more acceptable, the maintenance of that behavior is very, very catered to in a way that it is very clearly intimated, and as a head teacher you are also ensuring that you are part of the community, you have regular visits, you go talk to the children, have that one-to-one aspect. So regular, so if there are issues with the emotional, social emotional behavior with the child, you have regular evaluation of that child's behavior. You can even ensure that you give that personal touch. You have regular feedbacks for about the child, and you can always have little pep talks with the child. You, as a teacher, you as a head teacher, you could give them rewards. You could have that head teacher reward card, for example, and you could say that this week's head teacher reward goes to this child for whatever behavior they have shown. So you're sustaining that motivation for them to keep doing. So the individual intentions are clear. Then you are also ensuring internal motivation happening, because you are actually building the self-esteem of the child who is wanting to do good. So the motivation is regular. And then there is teaching learning techniques happen in that way, and you kind of the CPDs happen in the school where the teachers are taught how the teaching learning techniques are integrated, so that the enthusiasm the child has now built on does not die. And then again, peer collaboration plays a very important role, because when you can team them up, pair them up, and you can have someone they relate to, or they can get along well with, or they learn to. So you have peer children who will always looking after each other. So you have those students, so you're pairing your students, or you could have them in fours. So in case one is absent, they're not alone. So they work around as peer collaboration to ensure that emotional social aspects is looked at. Okay, now summing up what we have done, the keys are that how do we actually tackling social emotional issues would be that we are measuring to identify social emotional. So first is what measurements, what measuring criterias are there in our school for social emotional disorders that are happening. Then we are understanding the emotional disturbances, how the emotional disturbances happen. We are actually having the reality check on that, and what would be the responsibility of a teacher, what would be the responsibility of a student, what would be the responsibility of the caregivers, and then responsibility of a role of a head teacher. Because they being the head of the institution, it is important that they understand their role, and the criteria that everybody should follow becomes consistent. So the collaborating of parents and other agencies to ensuring those issues are well tackled also is the responsibility of the head teacher. So ensuring the consistency would only happen when the head teacher is clearly in the loop to ensure those emotional issues don't happen. Okay. Any questions? I have my phone now. I can hear through the phone. I don't know what's happened to my mic, but I can hear if you have any questions to ask. But that would be the end of the session today, because we've done 3 units and which were quite interrelated. Are there any questions that you would like to ask? Yes? Any messages? Okay, no messages. Okay, then. Okay, then that would be the end of the session.
हेलो
हेलो
हाँ बात करें।
जी मैम। हेलो मैम।
अरे मैम को उधर शायद हमारी आवाज नहीं सुनाई देगी तो कोई बात नहीं। आप मीटिंग मतलब मैम को बोल दीजिएगा कि हम मीटिंग एंड कर रहे हैं।
मैम। हेलो मैम।
उनको शायद
हेलो मैम। हेलो मैडम।
ओके टाइम ऐसे हो गया है, आप ऐसे करो रिकॉर्डिंग बंद कर दो।
ठीक।
हाँ और वो पहले रिकॉर्डिंग बंद करो, जब रिकॉर्डिंग बंद हो जाएगी
हाँ जी
मीटिंग
सर।
एंड का बटन दबा देना।
कर दी रिकॉर्डिंग।
हाँ
हाँ जी
हम
सर।
मीटिंग एंड